close your eyes. Imagine walking through the wide stone streets of ancient Rome. The sun warms the paving beneath your feet. Voices echo off marble walls. The scent of baked bread mingles with the smoke of distant fires. But this is not your Rome. You are not a senator, or a philosopher, or even a citizen. You are a slave of the public bathhouse, a place of luxury for the few, but for you, a place of unending labor. Your name is not remembered. Your work is never praised. But you are vital. You are the reason Rome stays clean, perfumed, refreshed. Tonight, we'll slip quietly into 4 sides of Roman life. First, the miserable, steamy, suffocating reality of working in the Roman bath. Then, the unraveling of a man born to rule, Emperor Nero, and the lonely end of his reign. After that, we descend beneath the surface, into the secretive, sacred spaces of the myth. And finally, we join the candlelit feasts of the Roman elite, where beauty and power flow like wine. Let your mind drift back. 2 marble walls, flickering lamplight, and the quiet, endless work of empire.
It's still dark when you wake, not the peaceful, star-skittered dark of countryside nights, but the heavy, close darkness of a stone storeroom deep beneath Rome's streets. You share the space with 3 others, none related to you, but all tethered by the same invisible chain. Slavery. The air smells of damp cloth and old ash. Somewhere above, a rat scurries across a beam. You don't move. Not yet. And then you hear it. The first sound of the day. The long, deep creak of the outer gate being unbarred. The baths will open soon. You must rise. Your tunic is stiff from yesterday's sweat. You pull it over your head, wincing as the linen scratches your shoulder, where the scar is still healing. One of the older slaves hands you a leather strap. They want the hot room hotter today, he mutters. Senator Varro is bringing guests. You say nothing. There's no point. You move quickly, barefoot across cold stone, toward the narrow entrance that leads beneath the baths, into the hypocostum, the underbelly of Rome's engineering marvel. Down here, it is dark, always. The fire pits line the walls like mouths opened in silent hunger. You feed them wood, heavy branches stacked the night before. The fires roar to life, and the smoke swirls upward, warming the marble floors above. Sweat beads on your neck within minutes. You cough, but you keep working. There are no breaks. There is only heat and time. Hours pass. You climb back above ground, where the daylight has already flooded the frigidarium. The cold room. The walls here are lined with smooth blue-gray marble, and fountains bubble softly from lion-headed spouts. You wipe down benches, scrub tiles with a rough cloth. In the distance, water sloshes gently as another slave tests the temperature in the tepidarium. The warm room. Your master appears then. Not cruel, but not kind either. He tosses you a skin of oil and points toward the appetitorium, the changing room. They'll want their backs oiled. You nod and move. The first guests arrive. Their footsteps echo against the stone. The wealthy walk slowly, not because they're tired, but because they expect the world to wait. Robes fall from their shoulders without concern. You catch them before they touch the floor. One of them, a merchant broad-chested and sweating already, gestures for you to begin. You pour the oil into your hand. The scent of thyme and myrrh is as you'll rub it along his back, then arms, then legs. He barely acknowledges you, just stares ahead as another man jokes about politics. You keep your head low. You know not to speak. You are a fixture here, a human tool, an extension of the bath itself. By midday, the caldarium, the hot steam room, is full. You slip between guests, collecting towels, pouring water, refilling oils. The heat here is almost unbearable. The air shimmers, steam rises in dense clouds, and your skin is slick with sweat not your own. A young patrician clicks his fingers. You turn. His face is flushed from the heat. He points to the floor where someone has dropped a towel. Clean it, he says, not unkindly, but with the tone of someone who has never cleaned anything in his life. You do? An old man, likely a retired soldier, nods at you as you pass. Hard work, he mutters. You've strong arms. You offer a small smile. The first of the day. Later, you hear a cry from the Laconicum, the dry sauna. A slave from another bathhouse, borrowed for the day, has fainted. The overseer waves you over. Carry him out. You do as told, lifting his limp body, drenched in sweat. his skin burning hot to the touch. You lay him near the door, fan his face with a discarded robe, and fetch a splash of cold water. No one thanks you, no one notices. Within moments, you are sent back to clean the massage benches. The sun begins to fall. Outside, the streets are filling with children, animals, vendors, calling out the price of olives and figs. But inside the bathhouse, the glow remains. Steady lamps along the walls, casting warm yellow halos over the still steaming water. You clean again, scrub the edges of the hot pool with a brush of horsehair, gather the scattered towels, rinse the stone tiles. Someone has been sick in the warm pool. Too much wine. You fetch a bucket, and without complaint, begins to clean it. Night falls. The last guests leave in silence, their sandals slapping gently against whetstone. A few coins are dropped into a shallow dish. Tips for the master, not for you. You're instructed to gather the robes left behind, fold them, stack them, then return to the furnace once more. The coals are still glowing. You rake them gently, not to feed them, but to tame them. Let them sleep, like you hope to. Eventually, you find your way back to the storeroom. Your tunic is soaked. Your hands ache. You've inhaled smoke, oil, steam, and ash. And yet, there is no complaint, no rebellion, only silence. Tomorrow will be the same. You lie down beside the same cold wall. One of the older slaves hums softly to himself. An old song from a place far away, a home long forgotten. And as your eyes close, you realize you don't even remember the sound of your own language anymore.
You stand in the gardens of the Palatine Hill. Olive trees sway gently in the late afternoon breeze. A golden light rests on the domes and rooftops of Rome. The smell of cypress and fresh-cut laurel drifts through the air. You hear the rustle of silk, the scrape of a stylus on wax. And above it all, you hear music. A single voice, trembling and clear, sings in Greek. The words are delicate, drawn out, mournful. You follow the sound into a private courtyard, where a man dressed in a purple cloak sits before an audience of senators, poets, and noblewomen. He is playing the lyre. His fingers are soft. His eyes have... He does not see their unease, or pretends not to. No one dares move. Some are struggling not to yawn. Others smiled too widely. A single glance of disapproval could be fatal. This man is Nero Claudius Caesar, the Emperor of Rome, and he believes himself a genius. He was not born to rule, but through a long chain of adoptions, alliances, and murders, Nero found himself emperor at just 16. At first there was hope. He reduced taxes, banned public executions, gave concerts. He was young, beautiful, charismatic. Rome sighed with relief after the harsh years under Claudius and Caligula. But power is never simple. Nero's mother, Agrippina, had secured his throne through whispers and poison. At night, she walked the halls of the palace like a ghost, scheming, watching. She wanted to rule through Nero. He tolerated it, until he didn't. Their relationship, once close, decayed. Rumors swirled. Then came exile. And eventually, Agrippina drowned. It was said, in a staged boat accident. But when she survived, Nero ordered her executed outright. The whispers never stopped after that. He began to trust fewer people. Friends vanished. Advisors were replaced by flatterers. Senators were accused of treason on flimsy grounds. Executions multiplied. Nero grew paranoid, then erratic. He divorced his wife Octavia, then had her exiled. When the public mourned her, he had her in her place. He married Poppaea Sabina, a woman known for her beauty and ambition. But even she would not escape his moods. One night, during an argument, Nero is said to have kicked her while she was pregnant. She died hours later, then replaced her with a young boy, Sporus, whom he had castrated and dressed to resemble her. Still, he sang. By year 64, Rome was restless. Then came the fire. It began in the merchant district, whether by accident, neglect, or something more deliberate remains unknown. But it raged for 9 days, destroying 3/4 of the city. People fled into the hills, dragging what little they could carry. As the ashes cooled, rumors ignited. Nero had set the fire himself. Why? Some whispered it was too clear space for his grand vision. A palace like no other, a place where he could walk through rose gardens that stretched across the very heart of Rome. To deflect the accusations, he found a scapegoat. The Christians, a strange sect, foreign, secretive. He accused them of arson and had them arrested en masse. Some were thrown to lions, others crucified, some burned alive to light Nero's gardens at night. Meanwhile, construction of the Domus Aurea, the Golden House, began. It was beyond belief. Rotating dining rooms, ceilings that rained, petals, artificial lakes, walls covered in gold leaf and precious gems. Nero wandered through it and murmured, "At last, I can live like a human being." But the people of Rome were not pleased. The army, too, grew uneasy. Far from the capital, a revolt began. A general named Vindex rose in Gaul. Soon, others joined. The Senate, long humiliated, found its courage. The Praetorian Guard, Rome's elite soldiers, abandoned Nero in exchange for promises from a new would-be emperor Galba one morning. Nero awoke in the palace to find it quiet. Too quiet. His guards were gone. His slaves had fled. Messages came he had been declared a public enemy. He would be arrested, beaten to death in the Forum. His name would be erased. Panic overtook him. He fled the palace in disguise. Barefoot, wrapped in a cloak, his face covered, he rode out of the city with only a few loyal freedmen. They hid in a villa outside Rome. There, as dawn approached, Nero wept. He begged someone to kill him. At last, with soldiers on their way, he took a dagger and pressed it to his throat. His last words, trembling, whispered barely a breath, were, "Qualis artifex, perio, what an artist dies in me." He was 30 years old. The world did not mourn. The Domus Aurea was stripped of its gold. His name was removed from monuments. Later emperors mocked him. Even now, his name is a symbol of vanity, excess, and cruelty. But some still remember the music, the poetry, the dream of a golden world. And in the quiet corners of old Rome, beneath vines and dust, fragments of his palace remain, not shining, but silent, like the echo of a song no one dares to sing aloud. You walk through a narrow corridor beneath the bustling Roman streets. Above, life continues. The shouting of vendors, the laughter of children, the clash of swords during training exercises. But down here, it is dark, quiet, cool, and sacred. Your lamp flickers as you descend into the Mithraeum. You duck slightly as the ceiling lowers. Ahead of you, 2 long stone benches flank the narrow chamber, and at the far end, barely lit, a sculpture emerges from shadow. The god Mithras frozen forever in the act of slaying the bull. This is not a temple open to the public. There are no festivals, no incense sold at the gates, no statues lining the streets. The cult of Mithras is for the few. It emerged in the 1st century CE, though its roots stretch much farther, into the east, perhaps ancient Persia. Soldiers brought it west, and it thrived quietly in Rome's shadow. Membership was exclusively male, and exclusive in every other way too. To join was to swear secrecy. To be initiated was to be reborn. Each Mithraic initiate passed through 7 grades, from Corax, the Raven, to Potter the Father. Each level involved tests, not of brute strength, but of endurance, silence, submission. You might be blindfolded, deprived of sleep, forced to endure cold, heat, hunger, to confront death in symbol before rising renewed. You sit now on the stone bench. The air smells of old stone, of oil and iron. The ceiling above is painted with stars. You notice carvings along the walls, astrological signs, a sun chariot, fire altars. Why did the Romans sprout? Rational, practical worship a god like this. Perhaps because Mithras was a god of neither fully Roman nor entirely foreign. A god of soldiers, of structure, of cosmic order in a world always on the brink of chaos. In the central image, Mithras plunges his dagger into the neck of a white bull. Around him a dog laps the blood, a scorpion bites the bull's genitals, a snake coils near its hooves. Above, Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, watches. It's not just a killing, it's a cosmic act. Scholars debate its meaning even now. Some say the bull represents life, and its death is creation. Others believe it symbolizes the motion of stars, the turning of the zodiac. Still others say it's about power, sacrifice, transformation. The cult left behind no scripture, no public sermons, only symbols, rites, silence. Once, perhaps, there were a chants here. Initiates gathering at night, lit only by flickering lamps. They sat where you now sit, sharing bread and wine in a ritual meal, but not to remember a death, to reenact one. The bulls, sacrifice, Mithras' triumph, the promise that death could lead to something deeper than life. The ritual meal was central. They broke bread, drank wine, and consumed it in silence. As the stars turned overhead, they believed in rebirth, in cosmic cycles, in the brotherhood of those who knew the truth beneath the world's surface. No women were allowed, no children, no outsiders. You were either within the brotherhood, or you were not. When Christianity rose in the empire's final centuries, both faiths shared much. Ritual meals, divine figures, ideas of salvation, light and darkness. But insular, rigid, it had no written texts, no missionaries. Christianity grew by reaching outward. Mithraism died by looking inward. By the 4th century, most temples were abandoned. Some were destroyed, others buried. A few survived beneath layers of newer buildings, and centuries later, archaeologists would find them intact. Walls still painted, altars still standing, statues still watching in silence. Today, if you visit Rome, you can find one, hidden beneath churches, beneath modern streets, The Mithraeum of San Clemente still holds its ancient chill. The London Mithraeum, lost beneath glass towers, has been restored in austere Capua, and along the Rhine they wait. You descend the stairs, you sit in the dim light, and for a moment, you feel it. Not fear, but reverence. The weight of unspoken truths, of loyalty to the hidden, the comfort of belonging to something deeper than reason. There are no more priests of myth, but the stone remembers. The sun is low on the horizon, casting long golden streaks across Rome. But inside, there is no need for the sun. Every surface here gleams. Every corner of this place, the Domus Aurea, or Golden House, is designed to aid not comfort. It was the most extravagant residence ever built in ancient Rome. A statement, not just a structure. Built in the wake of destruction, it stretched over hundreds of acres, not for the people but for one man. Nero Claudius Caesar. You are one of the chosen few invited tonight. A senator's guest, perhaps, or the companion of a wealthy Greek scholar. It doesn't matter how you got in. What matters is this: you are inside. The hall you enter is vast, higher than a temple. The walls shimmer with gold leaf, set in swirling patterns alongside polished marble, reds, greens, and deep, inky blacks. Frescoes cover every surface not gilded. Scenes of nymphs, gods, fantastical beasts, vines winding endlessly up into painted heavens. Soft light filters through thin sheets of alabaster. Lamps flicker. The air smells of myrrh and cinnamon. You pass through a corridor where the walls seem to move, not with magic, but with engineering. Panels rotate above, releasing rose petals, gently falling like pink snow. A faint mist perfumes the air. And then, the dining chamber. Here, the elite recline on couches arranged around low tables. They rest on silk cushions. Gold-threaded tunics hang loosely from their shoulders. No one eats quickly. No one raises their voice. To be at this table is not about appetite, it's about display. The meal begins with gustaccio, the appetizer. Dishes of honey roast-starred dormice served in tiny bowls. Quail eggs painted with edible gold. Sea urchins cracked open tableside. You are offered a sauce of fermented fish garum, prized above all other condiments. Slaves appear silent and swift. One pours warm rose water over your fingers. Another hands you a goblet of Falernian wine, aged 30 years in amphorae sealed with wax. A man at your side, a poet, murmurs that tonight's boar has been roasted whole, its mouth filled with dates, its belly stuffed with live thrush. When it is carved, they will take flight. A spectacle meant to impress. You watch as silver platters are uncovered. Grilled peacock with jeweled feathers, eels shaped into the forms of sea serpents, a cake made to resemble a Roman temple, complete with columns of sugar. Between courses, musicians play. They do not perform loudly. Instead, soft melodies from aloes, flutes, and plucked citharas drift through the air. A dancer moves silently across the mosaic floor, trailing silks dyed with Tyrian purple. Her bracelets jingle faintly, like wind in distant trees. There is laughter, measured, never too loud. Jokes told in Greek and Latin, eyes always watching. Who is in favor? Who is growing cold? Nero himself may appear, not as a ruler, but as a host, a performer. Perhaps he will sing, or recite poetry, or surprise his guests with a new dish inspired by the East. Every moment is choreographed. Even the walls can rotate, revealing new scenes, changing the lighting, transforming night into simulated day. The ceiling is rumored to spin slowly, turned by servants or ingenious gears, releasing perfumes and petals at carefully chosen intervals. By the fourth course, conversation drifts. Topics shift from politics to philosophy, from theater to conquest. One guest speaks of a recent gladiator match, another of the stars, and whether comets foretell death. A woman nearby debates a soul with a stoic, her voice barely above a whisper. No one talks of the fire. No one dares mention papai. No one speaks the truth aloud. To eat here is to pretend. You are full now, more than full. Your lips are stained purple from wine. Your fingers still smell of cinnamon and roasted fig. Yet more food arrives. Sweet pastries with lotus seeds, cheese drizzled with honey, a cake shaped like the Colosseum, with tiny candied lions. A slave sets a warm cloth on your neck. Another brushes rose petals from your lap. The lamps are dimmed, soft music plays, and you feel yourself drifting, not from the wine alone, but from the sheer weight of excess. Luxury here is not comfort. It is performance, distraction, command. No one speaks of tomorrow. In this room of golden shadows, time stands still. Later, long after the guests have left and the fires have burned low, a young slave will clean the floor with silent hands. He will collect the fallen petals, scrub the spilled wine, fold the discarded silks. He will not eat the food that remains. It is not for him. He will sleep on the cold stone outside the triclinium, listening to the echoes of laughter that were never meant for him. And in the stillness of night, the Domus Aurea breathes, not as a homie, but as a symbol of what Rome had become: beautiful, empty, afraid.